Welcome to Lifeness with Logan Hall. It's life, it's business, it's Lifeness. Live from the StriveVenta.com studios, here's Logan Hall.
All right. Oh, yeah. It's a Thursday. You know, it's Lifeness time. It's life, it's business. It is Lifeness. Thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. I appreciate it. Remember, you can download our apps out there on the Google Play Store and iTunes. And we're this close to getting on iHeartRadio as well, which will be some pretty cool exposure. That's very, very big time for us, right? And that beautiful voice is from a very beautiful person, a repeat guest, and just a really, really great, awesome individual, Mrs. Margy Bons. What's going on, Margy?
I'm just loving this new studio. Yoo-hoo!
Thank you. And she says new studio because she's been to the old studio. She's been on the show before. We've connected in the past. And Jim Sharp, a mutual friend of ours, kind of introduced us. And Jim Sharp, really good guy. You know, he's got his radio show here locally. You can check him out. America Continues is the name of his show. And he actually broadcasts out of the same studio in the afternoon. So
that is amazing.
It really is. So we're still partners in crime. He is actually, I did my first demo for Lifeness ever with him over at KFYI, and he's kind of been my mentor all the way through. And I had the fortune of him introducing us together, and now we become friends. And you're on the show again to talk about this really, really, really awesome gig, movement you've got going on. It's called ma'am, and it's not polite etiquette from the South, ma'am. It's the Military Assistance Mission Arizona, ma'am, and Margy Bons, who this is basically her baby, her child, as far as what she's taken it into. So we're going to have Margy introduce herself a little bit, tell us a little bit about her background and kind of what prompted this, and really share with you guys. You want to talk about a passion, and you want to talk about making a difference and the reach and the impact. We were saying it's not helping just like a couple dozen people a year. It's like close to 10,000. It's thousands of people a year are being impacted positively and being helped out and subsidized in some way, financially, emotionally, in any way that we can help out some of our military members, because oftentimes, you know, they come back from serving the country. They may not have all the necessary skills, some of the social skills. We also know, you know, some of the bad things that they've seen and the impact that has in their life when they're back into normal society, and having to balance some of those bad dreams and these bad feelings and emotions with an everyday life here, and be positive and try to move forward and be productive. So it's ma'am, and it's Margy Bons. Margy, tell our listeners a little bit about you and this awesome organization you got going on.
Well, I'm very blessed to have a lot of support, but Military Assistance Mission, it was one of those things where actually ma'am, from the respect of ma'am from down south and stuff, everybody kept calling me that. They'd say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, because I was around service members. And I always came back with, if you keep calling me that, I'm going to make you one. And then I'd get a giggle from the guys. And so they kind of knew what I meant. But I gave them so much grief that when we called the organization ma'am, they were like, well, wait, you gave us so much grief for calling us ma'am, and you calling you ma'am, and now you named it ma'am. And I go, well, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. And then kind of the irony in that, right? Exactly.
Far as, and then there's more to the ma'am as well.
Well, when I was trying to name the organization, it was really important that our service members or anybody that needed assistance that's military, that's in our mission, would be able to find us. So Google. I mean, think about it. If you're military and you're going to type, what are you going to type in? Military assistance. Well, as I was trying to come up with the name of an organization, I would write down military, and I'd write down assistance, and I'd write down mission, and I'd write down my son's initials, because I wanted to name it after my son, who was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, and he went to Iraq, and then he went to heaven, and his initials are MAM. So it all came together, and everybody called me ma'am. My son's initials are ma'am, and what we do is ma'am. We are a military assistance mission, so it all fell into place.
That's the part of the story that gives you the chills, to where those were his initials. These are the initials of the organization. ma'am is a proper, polite way that military men and women, were addressing you.
Yes.
You said, don't call me ma'am. I'm not a ma'am. That makes me feel old or whatever. My dad, I remember when people would call him Mr. Hall, he said, I'm not my dad. I'm not an old. You call me Glenn, right? And same thing. You call me ma'am or sir. I'm not old, and I'm not some just call me Margy, or call me your friend, or my bud, or something like that. And then ma'am.
And then when you're around a lot of service members and stuff, you can almost tell who was raised ma'am, who was raised ma'am, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, and stuff, to the people that are in the service that were directed ma'am, yes ma'am, no. You can almost see that, and I have given up on telling the ones that were raised that to not call me that, because they're like, nope, I'm sorry, my mom would be mad at me.
My mom would be mad, and you got this great organization,
so
it just kind of falls into place. I like you said, it all kind of lined up. So ma'am was kind of born from your son's experience and his commitment to our freedom and the sacrifice that he gave. And then here's mom back home thinking, oh, man, what can we do to turn a positive into a negative? This is, there's something bigger here. How do I figure it out? How do I wrap my arms around it? You probably did a lot of praying, trying to figure out which direction and what the answers were. And it didn't happen overnight. And now you're in the 4th year of ma'am officially being around. And tell a little bit more, our listeners, a little bit more about how that, those first kind of steps to actually make it official and to start making a difference. What had to line up there?
Well, I had to heal, and I had to learn how to walk with the grief blanket, because you don't ever get rid of that. Once you become a Gold Star family, which Gold Star is what we are when we get the knock on the door when we've lost someone in combat. But it was a lot of crying. It was a lot of praying. It was a lot of, I don't get this. I don't understand this. Why didn't you have that insurgent who got in that van that day filled with IEDs? Why didn't you give him a flat tire? Or why didn't you, make sandals not go on that day? There's a lot of questions and stuff. But I realized that I could lay in bed all day and I could cry and I could do all of that, but then I wouldn't be honoring my son. And he volunteered to go to Iraq. I know it's a volunteer military, but I'm telling you, he already served his time. He found a unit to go to Iraq with and volunteered with them. And he really was a Marine, and he really was patriotic, and he really believed in that flag. I'll tell you, one day he came home from leave. I was this patriotic mom. I thought I knew. Well, I am, but I put up a flag, and then I had this little itty bitty Marine Corps flag, like a little 4x6. It was on this little stick, and I taped it to the top of the pole, and I was so excited. And he comes down the street and gets out of the car, and first thing he did was yell at me. And I was like, "Why? What'd I do? Because you never put anything above the American flag, Mom. I fight for that flag. Take that down." I go, "But you're a Marine." He goes, "I'm an American."
Flag first in America.
Exactly. And so I learned very, 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 very quickly, don't do that. So now I know flag etiquette. There's a
lot. There's a whole lot.
We violate it so much.
Yeah, the rules of what you're supposed to do. I think everybody knows that you're not supposed to let it touch the ground, right?
Touch the ground, right.
But do you know that you're really not supposed to let it fly overnight? And
without a light on.
Without a light on. It's got to be folded the proper way and put away and stored. There's so many things, and I think that kind of goes along with what they instill in the military with making your bed every morning before you leave, and a routine. And what that does is that provides structure for your life and a focus that the flag is first. The flag is absolutely first.
Oh, when I see it, I literally stop. There's a station that comes on, and at noon every day they play the national
anthem by one of the local high school bands.
And if I'm anywhere and I hear that song, I stop and I look for a flag, anywhere that I can actually stop and do that. And yesterday we had a Marine in our office helping to sort some school supplies, and all of a sudden I caught the song in the background, and I just stopped, and she goes, I go, "Find a flag." And we just of course I have flags all over my office, right? So we're like finding flag, and we just stood there and stuff. And when it was over, she goes, "I didn't even know that they did that." I go, "I play it so I can hear that, because I want to be reminded every single day that flag flew because of the brave."
Yep.
And my son was one of those.
Wow. You guys, you want to talk about a heart-touching story and something that is straight from the heart, and the initials lining up, and we haven't even necessarily talked about the need for what you're providing. There was such a lack of it here in the state of Arizona, and you guys are filling a huge void and helping so many families. And again, it's not just, we helped a couple families last year do this and that. It's thousands of families.
Yes,
it's just absolutely amazing.
It is amazing. I get to be among our heroes. I will tell you, if I'm talking to you in a crowd, and please don't be offended by this, but if a service member walks in uniform, you no longer exist. Now, if a service member walks in uniform with a baby, the whole world is gone. But yeah, I will do that. I will stop. And I've had that happen. People think I'm rude, but that service member, I owe them. I mean, they signed on the dotted line not knowing what was coming. For my freedom, I owe them. So I owe them that. Thank you for your service.
We owe them the respect, and one thing that I do as a realtor at Logan Hall Homes, if you're military, past, present, future, doctor, teacher, nurse, first responder, if you close a home with me, I give you a $500 credit at closing to either help you with some assistance to your closing costs. We can get you maybe a gift card to Lowe's or Home Depot. Maybe just need a little help at the end getting everything to finalize and close the deal. So that's something that I do as kind of a return favor for thanking people for giving back to our community and sacrificing their lives and their families' sacrifices to allow our military men and women to go abroad and do those sorts of things. So it's a very special thing that's very close to me. I was mentioned to you also before the show, my wife and I, we say a prayer every night right before we go to bed. And the second to last thing that we close our prayer with is, thank you, God, please watch over our military men and women and their families for the sacrifices they make to protect our freedoms.
And I do appreciate you including the families, because the families are very important to that service member's mind.
At the end of the day, it's a 50-50 deal. It's that spouse that's here with the kids, being more or less a single parent at that time while that other person is deployed or on training or something else. And then not to mention the emotional struggle that they have to go through as far as, is he okay today? Is he coming back? Is he going to be back for the next year's school year, the next football season for Pop Warner, the next Little League? And that, you're right, it's very important. And we used to not necessarily say that. I think when we first started saying the prayer, it was, thank you to all our military men and women for protecting our freedom. And then I don't remember when it transition into and meeting you, absolutely being around you and being more aware of the military and some of the unfortunate things that happen. You hear on the news, it's like, gosh dang, they need every prayer and every ounce of support, and everybody involved, not just the military members themselves, their families and their friends that are here helping out in the interim, and the letters that are written and the prayers that everybody says to help protect everybody. So it's just,
That was one of the reasons when I did the Gold Star license plate for the state of Arizona. It says Gold Star Family.
Not just the Gold Star that person.
Not just Gold Star Dad, it's the Gold Star
family.
There's
and
cousins, there's sisters, there's brothers.
Because they had a loss. Everybody lost someone when they lose their lives protecting our freedom. And I think that memory should continue on, and that legacy should be honored and be remembered. So,
absolutely,
you guys, it's awesome. Stay tuned for the short little break. We're coming back with Margy with Ma'am. Thanks for listening to Lifeness. Hey guys, I'm here with a good friend of mine, John St. George, owner of Phoenix Carpet Water Restoration, home of the Spot Crew. John, tell us a little bit about your company.
Thanks, Logan. We are a locally owned carpet, tile, upholstery, and oriental rug cleaning company here in the Valley. We're happy to celebrate our 5-year anniversary, and we're giving 25% off to all new customers to call in at 602-319-8446.
So that phone number again, 602-319-8446, 602-319-8446. Call my buddy John for a free estimate today. Tell him Logan sent you. All right, we are back with Margy with Ma'am. Thanks for listening to Lifeness, you guys. Some really, really cool stuff going on. We were just sharing about the life side of it and the personal heart and soul behind Ma'am, which is Margy, and which is her son Michael, right? And
Michael's it.
And the motivation and the, I guess, just the direction of hey, this is something that I need to be involved in. This is a passion that has been born and created out of tragedy. And there is a bright side to every story. There is a glass is half full